What's up, my 11 YouTube friends? Princeton Outlaw Grass Drag 2025, the aftermath. What did we buy out there? Let's talk about it. We didn't buy a lot, but we did buy a couple really cool things. The first thing I found right away in the swaps on Thursday evening was these Polaris bar stools. Very cool. I found 5 of them. I bought all 5 of them from the guy. Actually, Dan Richardson. He was the owner of Northway Sports, so he gave me a really good deal on them. And he was my local Polaris dealership. Dan has since retired. He had a bunch of Polaris memorabilia, and he's like, you know what, you can only have so much stuff and keep carrying it around. So he sold the bar stools. So really cool. I was really in need of them because the stools I used to have around my shop bar here, quite a few of them were getting pretty ratty and unsafe, so I had to throw them away. So I was really in need of some new stools, and to get Polaris ones is really cool. The other thing I found was some Fox Extra 12 front shocks for Project Freebie. That's the wife and I's 2-up touring Ultra, and we ride it quite a bit in the wintertime, and I want to upgrade the shocks. And if the old oil shocks are getting pretty wore out in it, they're kind of starting to leak. And I also bought 2 Extra 12 rear skids with Fox shocks in both skids. They're kind of considered parts skids because neither skid is ready to just bolt into a sled. So the seller gave me a really good deal on buying both skids from them. And so I needed both sets of shocks because I'm actually going to put one set of these shocks in the rear of Project Loaner also. So, and then I'll get these shocks to my shock rebuilder, Eric the Shock Guy in Becker, Minnesota. I'm going to drop them off. And I think he can even valve them for, I'm going to tell him they're for a 2-up machine that always has at least 2 people on it. So he can valve them a little stiffer to handle the extra weight and stuff. So when you kind of go over a rise and then back down into a low spot, that you don't get that bottom out, especially when you have 2 people on the sleds. So I think he can do some valving in these Fox shocks to help eliminate some of that. So that'll be pretty cool. That'll really improve the ride of these 2-up machines by having these Fox shocks. I'm really excited about getting them in. So we'll get into a project here pretty quickly after this intro. We'll get going on prepping these shocks to get them to Eric the Shock Guy. I do want to talk briefly about the XCR 800s. As you all know, Trent and I are going to be taking these 2 sleds completely 100% apart, redoing everything, and building them back into a wedge like we did with Project Parts Sled. We started off with an aggressive SPX and built it into a wedge. And that's what we want to do with these 2 99s. But Trent and I have talked, and we have determined that if this is something that we're going to try and do this winter, it's going to be overwhelming amount of work that we just really physically don't have the time to do right now. With our barn addition that still is not complete, and adding on to our shop up north, which is not complete, we want to dedicate enough time to get all that stuff done. And we still have a couple sleds that need tuning. They need attention. Jason 6.5 and Parts Sled both have not been tuned to run perfectly. And the only way to do that is if I have the time to dedicate to tuning on them on a weekend. And hopefully Minnesota blesses us with some snow this winter, and we can get some tuning time in on these 2 sleds on the snow and get them running perfectly. That's why these 2 are going to have to wait for right now. They're together. You can get on them and ride them. And that's better than to be able to still ride them before we just tear them apart, and then we're overwhelmed with the 2 projects of having to get them back together. But we do have a lot of the parts, like we have front end pieces, we have other parts, we have our skis and stuff that we're going to have powder coated. There's a lot of things that we have a pile of parts that we could actually bring in and start getting some of the powder coating stuff done, so we can kind of start the process. And there was talk of Trenton wanting to polish both tunnels and stuff, and if we were going to build them this year, he already determined he was not going to have the time to be able to polish both tunnels to the way he wants them to look if we were going to try and build these 2 sleds this winter. So now that we're going to prolong it till next year, now he'll have the time to polish the 2 tunnels. And that's kind of what we really wanted to do, like we did on Jason. The polish looks awesome, and we really wanted to do these 2 tunnels as polished because we really wanted them just to be completely different than anything out there. And so we want to be able to do this again to these 2 tunnels. And so that's why these sleds are going to have to be temporarily put on hold. It's still going to happen. People have gave us super thanks donations towards the builds on these. We've even had 2 top end kits donated to us by E&I Motorsports in Michigan. So it's still going to happen. It's just not going to happen right now. It's going to happen next year after we finish the projects that we've already started. Then we'll do these ones. But we're going to go through all of our sleds this winter. So there'll be all kinds of videos still of us working on the sleds, especially tuning videos, riding videos. I hope to get riding videos in this year. And there's a few of our sleds that just really need to be maintained. And so we'll do some maintenance videos, and especially like Project Freebie, being we're going to be putting those new Fox shocks in it. That rear skid has never been completely rebuilt, and now's the time because we're going to have to take the skid out to put the shocks in. So we'll totally rebuild the skid. That means more bearings and new Hyfax bearings, stuff like that. And so that's the kind of stuff we're going to do, and hope to get some rides in too, especially with the Nutter crew. Nutter and I have talked about it for the last couple years of doing a ride together, and we're really hoping this can be the winter. And maybe Hot Donna and Thing 1 and Thing 2 can all go on a ride together, and that'd be fun. That'd be a great video for everybody to see. So those are our plans for this coming season. And so, all right, let's get into getting these shocks prepped so we can get them over to Eric, the shock guy. Let's prep these front shocks. Let's get the springs off of them first. These were a good buy on these shocks too. They had all the bushings and everything in them, and that's always a bonus when you get all the bushings. And these spring tools, if you don't have one and you do a lot with your shocks, oh, hang on, I gotta get this jounce pushed down so I get the spring tool in there. All right, I just used a screwdriver here to work that jounce stop down. I'll get new ones of these because they're kind of cracked and getting brittle. Dennis Kirk is where I found them, these jounce stops at real reasonably priced too. So that's where I'll be getting some new ones at. But yeah, I always like to bring my shocks in with the springs already off for them. That way I can get the springs cleaned up and get them ready for when I get the shocks back. I like to clean up the tops and stuff too. I believe these shocks are out of a twin because these coils measure 300 thousandths, and I've checked about any of my other triples around here, and the coils measure 350 thousandths. And it looks to me like I can actually use the spring off of the oil shocks that are already on the snowmobile. So that's why I'm believing these are probably off of a twin. So, but I can use the other springs. And I'll get new of these. And once Eric tears everything apart, he'll determine. But these are definitely needing rebuild when they so freely move. And I knew they were going to need rebuild anyways because they've been leaking. They've leaked, so they're no good. But that's okay. I didn't pay for a brand new shock. But he'll check the shafts and everything out, and if I need some shafts, he'll let me know. And there's a place in California on eBay that you can get new shafts and stuff pretty reasonable. So. Yeah. All right, I got a couple stubborn bushings here, so get the air hammer out. I got a little punch driver here. I'm going to put a socket on the other side to drive the bushing. I could probably do this on the press too, but I think I'm just going to go this route. Drive them through. See if this works. That worked pretty good. They're pretty rusty in there. Those two might require new bushings when I go to put it back there. I did buy some DOM stock a couple years ago, like 5 feet of it, so I could cut my own bushings. It's cheaper doing that than it is to buy them. Yeah. All right, so I have the fronts all stripped down as far as I can get with them. So I'm taking a bag and I'm going to put all the bushings into a bag to keep everything together. I marked it fronts, and then when I take the rear ones apart, I'll do the same thing. I'll get another bag going for the rears, and I'll mark it rear. I'll just put everything in here that I can reasonably fit in this smaller parts bag I have. You know what, I think I'll leave these out because I'm going to clean those up anyways, along with the spring adjusters that I took off the shocks. So I'll clean all this. I think I'll bead blast this, clean that aluminum up so it looks nice again. I'll probably run these on the wire wheel and polish them out a little bit. I kind of like to sometimes go a little overboard on my cleanup, but it stays nice for a long time if you take the extra effort to clean things up like that. So I'll go back and it doesn't look like I'm going to have to take too much apart to be able to get the shocks out. Looks like if I just get the limiter strap off so I can raise it up out of the way, I can get that bolt out. And I should be able to get this bolt out. Get the springs out of the way, I should get that bolt out. And then I might, well, we'll see. I haven't done a lot of the extra 12, so I don't know all the process of exactly what has to be done, but we'll just go by, we'll just do a little bit at a time here, see what it's going to take. I always like to get a little something on them so they spin out a little easier. Oh my goodness. Guess I don't even know my sizes yet this morning. My eyeballs ain't working quite right. 1/2 inch instead, not 9/16. Let's try 9/6 or 1/2 inch now. There we go. Yeah, we'll just get that out of the way. So it's missing a bushing and a nut over here. I don't know if somebody started to take this apart or if things started to fall apart. That's why I referred to this as a part skid, because I could see things were missing when I was buying it. All right, I got to get the air hammer involved. I got to move air hoses, and that's going to take me a minute. Okay, let's hope this is a quick resolve to the issue going on here. Let's hope.
it's not. So what's going on is the bolt is seized. The bolt is seized in the bushing that's in the shock. So more than likely here I'm going to end up having to make a cut, and a cut. I wish this was the answer, but it's not going to be. That bolt should have just flown right out of there. Yeah. I feel like it's really wanting to be cut apart. That's what it wants, to be cut apart. So, we'll come back to that. Not what I was hoping for, but it makes it feel a lot better that for as cheap as I got this skid for how much effort I'm going to have to go through to get the shocks out, I'm glad I got it as cheap as I did. So, $30. I paid $30 for this one and $30 for the other one, so I paid $60 for 2 skids with Fox shocks in them. I thought that was a very fair price. But yeah, it just requires a little bit of messing around here to be able to get the shocks out, but no big deal. We'll come back. Okay, I think we'll just go in there with the Make a Lot of Sparks wheel and just kind of saw right through all that mess and hopefully get something to come apart here. Look at that. Just come right apart just like that. Yes, yes, awesome. That's what I wanted to see. I didn't want any more struggles. But we'll save all this, put it in a bag, and that reminds me to cut a new bushing, which I have bushing stock here to be able to do that. So, this one now. So I seen when I was buying it that something wasn't going right on down here, and I don't think they had the right, like this shock had been out once and they didn't put the right bushings back in here. See, I see the shoulders so narrow right here. I'll bring you guys in here. Like right down here, see the bushing here is so narrow, and see how the shock isn't riding on the bushings correctly? Because they should be like that. So somebody has done these shocks before and they did not put things back together right. And I seen that buying it. That's kind of why I told the seller, you know, to me, these are just part skids because they do need work. And they're good to have. All these extra parts on here are good to have around. You just never know when you'll need something. I have 2 snowmobiles with extra 12s in it, so even though they're 136 tracks, these are 121s, but all these extra parts, like these extra wheels, I'd love to put an extra set of wheels on the 136, so the brackets are here, and you know, there's just all these extra things that you can use when you buy a whole part skid for 30 bucks. You know, it's good to look for stuff like this at swap meets, is just buy a complete skid so you have all these extra parts on hand when you're trying to repair your stuff. Obviously, you can't have extra everything, but I keep my skids sitting outside. You know, this doesn't stay inside, obviously, so they store well outside, so it doesn't take up inside storage. And all that fun stuff that goes along with taking stuff apart. I think we're running into the same issue again. Another seized bolt in the bushing. Right? Why would it not be? Why would it not be seized? Let's get the old air rat-a-tat-tat hammer on it and see if this persuades anything to come apart. Oh yeah. Yes, we're talking. Now we're talking something. Oh no, it went through, now it won't come back off. We'll have to deal with that. One more thing to deal with. Why would that have not happened? Of course that has to happen. Oh wow, it actually split the bushing when it did go through. I'm gonna have to go touch this off on the grinder. I'll be right back. Just give me a minute. We'll go grind the burr off the end of my punch here so the bushing can slide off. Just like that. We have success. Oh, that's weird how it split that bushing. That's something. You see that? That's something else there. It's all right. I usually have excesses of amounts of those. God, it just does not want to come apart. Just stubborn. So stubborn. What does it want? What does it want me to do? Let me think about that. Let me get a flat chisel for the rat-a-tat-tat hammer. That way I can kind of grab a hold of that bottom of that bolt head there and convince it that it needs to come apart. Just the light convincing. The walking back and forth, back and forth. I did rearrange the shop a little bit, so now my bench is like right next to the toolbox, so I don't have to walk around the bench to the toolbox and back around. Limit my steps. I get enough steps a day. Oh, come on now. Just do it. Come on. Enough. See? You wanted to come apart. I knew you did. You should have just came apart to begin with. All right. Oh, I lost my short 9/16 socket. I just had it. How could have I lost it? Oh, it's on the rack. There, I found it. Oh, come on. Just get along here. Come on now. Oh no. That's a bad sign. Good thing I'm not reusing the bolt. Oh no. Oh, now we got something. We might have success. Come on. Guess we'll try the same thing under the bolt head with the rat-a-tat-tat. Oh gosh. Oh, would you look at that. Ooh. That just went like halfway across the shop. All right, look at that. Out. Nice. All right. Locks out of the way. Turn them out of the way. Then you can just get right in there to get the bolt out. Oh yeah, would you look at that. Yes. There you are. I see you. Yep. Just like that. Are you guys watching this? I hope you're still watching. All right. So let's get right in here. Oh, come on. Come on. Oh, deeper socket. There it is. There it is. Sometimes you got to go on the nut side. Yep. Now we'll go back to the bolt side, but we'll put a shorter socket. Anybody ever had one of these go wing wing off of one of these swivels? I'm about to take a front tooth out. Yeah, it will happen. You gotta be careful. All right, let's get a little pressure against this. Oh gosh, there it went. That's all it wanted. It just wanted to be pressured out. And then we just go like this. Let me take this. Oh boy, oh boy. Oh boy. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. That's a doozy there. I'm gonna have to get something with some leverage. Leverage. Oh yes, there it is. God, the best thing that could happen right now is just the bolt. If the bolt would just break off, that would be the best thing that could happen. Seems like you can never get a bolt to break off when you want it to break off. They only break off when they decide they're going to break off, but you pray for a bolt to just break off. Never will happen. Oh, look at me. Double. Just going after it. Get twice the spins out of half the work. Excellent. That bolt just fell right out of there. Amazing. And the bushing slid right out too. Gosh. All right. Okay. We'll get the springs off and get them prepped too. And then we'll get these shocks off to Eric, the shock guy in Becker, Minnesota. Yeah. That's a toasted bearing right there. Another roasted bearing. Roasted, 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 roasted. This is why it's a part skid. So if you're at a swap meet, check bearings, make sure everything's in them. Don't pay a ton of money for something that needs a ton of work. You're not ahead then. So you needed slides. It was this whole skid. That's why I called it a part skid. It was going to need a lot of work before it could go back into a snowmobile. So that's why you got to buy them cheap. I was only buying them for the shocks. If the shocks would have been out of the skids sitting on a table for sale, I would have paid more for the shocks then, because somebody did all the work to get them out. Here I am doing all the work to get the shocks out. So yeah, I would have definitely paid more for the shocks if they were already out. Less headache. So I'll bring you back later. All right, what did we figure out here? So when you're buying used shocks, folks, you got to really look them over. Like, especially this front set I bought. With all this pitting and stuff that's on these shafts, these shocks, both front shocks, are going to need the rods. So they're like $35 per rod if you order them off of eBay. So plus with the rebuild, this pair of shocks that I paid $50 for, which was still a fair price, but they need extensive work. I'm going to have, probably $150. No, I'll have more than that. I'll have close to $200 total into these shocks when I'm done. It may be even a little bit more because I'm actually going to re-sticker them. I'm going to sandblast the bodies, repaint the bodies. I want them to look nice when they're done. I might even have the tops redone too. And I'm going to blast the bottoms and clean them up. So I'm going to have a fair amount in these shocks when they're done. But what I did figure out is the rear, the longer shock in the rear is the twin to the front shock. They're exactly the same. They even have the exact, here's the rear adjuster for the spring tension. Here's the adjusters off the fronts. They are identical. Yeah, and this rear shock has the thicker diameter spring on it like the triple already has on the fronts, where this is the spring off of the front shocks, which is a smaller diameter. That's what determines your preload, your weight, what it can take. So that is what I have figured out. But, and like this rear, like this one here, I believe Very slow rebound, but it does slowly come back out. I believe this one, yeah, see, this one is totally shot. That's why you check your shocks every so often. You might have a shock in your rear skid that's doing nothing for you because it won't dampen anymore. So if you want to do any maintenance ever, check your shocks. You know, an oil shock will do this too, and you can buy brand new oil shocks. There's outfits out there and suppliers where you can get brand new oil shocks, or go to some swap meets and find Fox shocks, and you can always have the shock rebuild. So that's why you want to check that once in a while. I didn't check these longer ones. That's a good shock. It was resistance going in. Yep, see that one. This one isn't. See, it's dead. This one's lost its charge. It's lost its charge. So this is another dead one. So yeah, not good. So now I got everything lined up to be able to go in to get rebuilt now, and I'll have them completely disassemble them so I can get the bodies back, so I can get them to a sandblaster and get them sandblasted, and all the springs I'll have sandblasted and stuff too, so I can repaint them. Probably not going to go as far as powder coating on the springs. I'll probably just repaint is what I'm thinking at this point in time. Yeah, and I'll just rattle can the bodies. I've done it in the past, and it holds up. And I'll get the new stickers, and I'll maybe even leave a link once I do get the stickers and start putting the shock bodies back together and stuff. I'll even have to look in my stickers supply I have right now. I might have some of these blue Fox stickers already, so I'll have to look, because usually when I order them, I order extras. They're really cheap and inexpensive, so I usually order extras. So, all right, guys. Well, next video, I should be reassembling this stuff. So I hope you enjoyed this teardown video of the skids to get the shocks out. Yeah, hopefully I've explained something in here that can help you in your projects. And if you ever want to help on the channel on any of these projects, click the super thanks button, and you can donate whatever you can. $2 actually helps too. I mean, anything really does help. We're getting into the point where we're going to start, like I said, doing a lot of work on the sleds now. And yeah, and the one sled, Loaner, is a sled that I've built for everybody to be able to ride if they come up. Either they bring a snowmobile and there's breaks down, they can get on the Loaner and ride it, or it's just for family members and stuff that don't even own a snowmobile. It's for them to come and get on a snowmobile and enjoy. So, you know, if you ever want to donate towards something, you even put on there, this is for Loaner. It's a kind of a community snowmobile that Trent and I have built for people to be able to ride. And if you want to help keep that sled going, that'd be great. So thanks, everybody. See you in the next video. And I actually have more Princeton videos coming out yet too. So thanks, everyone.